Hi everyone, and welcome back to your weekly Top 10 Sales for Magic the Gathering, November 25th to December 1st of 2023. And in today's video, we're also discussing what's happening in the singles market. A lot of players are going to be surprised by some of the sales data, but the numbers don't lie. So let's get to this video and let's see what we're talking about. Coming in at number 10 this week from Wilds of Eldraine is Up the Beanstalk. The price has leveled out for the card. It's still being sought after by players, and the sales volume, although slowing, is still significant. 1,355 sales, total sales volume of $5,400 US spent buying this card in the last 7 days. And although this is a real slowdown for the number 10 position over the last couple of weeks, it is significant to note that this is coming into December and people have a lot more things on their minds than just buying Magic cards, and a lot more things are tapping into their wallets. So the overall sales volumes that we're going to see in this week's video and probably for the next several weeks are going to fall more in line with what we've traditionally seen as the normal sales volumes here on the channel. So let's go ahead now and jump over and take a look at the number 9 card. And here we have Cavern of Souls from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. This card has an average price of $38.24, and it still managed to snag 1,472 sales this week, or a total volume of $56,289 US. Guys, cards like this are still highly sought after, and this card is rebounding faster than most people anticipated. I myself was expecting it to fall around the $28 to $29 mark. It has already started to rebound, leveling off, although there still might be a price reduction over the long term, the past the 90 days mark. It's still something to note that it didn't fall as quick as people expected and even saw a bit of an uptick. So keep an eye on this card, because if you're a player desiring it, I still think it's going to fall down, but the market may dictate otherwise as the prices of cards and the money for this game moves on, getting ready for the new year. We have Ravnica Remastered as well as the Murders at Karlov Manor that will tie up some funds, and we know a lot of players and stores are being cautious about opening extra product. So that means a card like this may stabilize just on the fact that a lot of boxes didn't get opened and it had its initial sales volumes happen very quickly. So let's go ahead and jump over to number 8. And this one's not likely to surprise a lot of players. Again, Lost Caverns of Ixalan, we have the Skullspore Nexus. It's the price drop that most players are finding the surprising detail of this card. Of course, a lot of comparisons are made to the Great Henge. It had 1,522 sales this week. The total sales volume, very respectable, $17,000. But this card went from being the darling of everyone's intro green decks, like I'm going to make this happen, this card is going to work for me, to now being, yeah, I'm going to put it in, I'll try it out and see how it works. And it hasn't found that dedicated following that has boosted up the price of this card. That doesn't mean that it won't happen at some point later on in the market space and in the lifespan of these cards now being in a longer played format and standard. You know, the extra year is going to matter. I'll be curious to see if players pick this up after other new sets come out in 2024 that may kind of synergize with this and work a little bit better for people's constructed decks. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at number 7. And this card came as a bit of a surprise to the Moxman. The Bloodletter is here on the list again. It's $15.32 as its average price, but when we take a look at the overall sales volume, 1,710 sales, $26,197 of volume. When I look at the card and see it has to be played in a heavily black deck, 3 black, 1 generic for a 2/4 flyer, and says if an opponent would lose life during your turn, they lose twice that much life. I get it. It has its playability pieces. I just am surprised to see that at this mana cost that it's being as bought in larger quantities as we've been seeing. I'm expecting this card to kind of crash hard in the 90-day mark. If I'm wrong, kudos to everyone who's right. I just don't see this one having a dominating sphere when there's so many ways of players exiting this card as soon as it comes into play. As soon as they know you have it, it's pretty much game over because they're going to hold on to it knowing. But at the same time, if you get this onto the field and let's live and you can hit somebody, it's going to hurt. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our next card, and that is going to be the Great Door. I was surprised to see this on the list this week. Legendary artifact, all cool, only $1.47. Very inexpensive. Draw a card and then discard a card. But still, 1,825 sales is no joke. The total sales volume, though, is only $2,682 US. I guess that's enough to buy a low-end unlimited Mox if you want to kind of put it in that context. But I look at it and say, hey, this thing can transform. It's got other stuff going on the players can enjoy. I have tried using this card several times, and I really haven't made it work, nor have I found it to be a key component to the decks I've been building in Standard, but I'm not sure how well it'll play in the long term in formats like Commander. If you guys have some great ideas for this card, slam that down in the comments section. I am curious to see if maybe I'm just missing something with the card that somebody else knows about, and I'd be curious to know. Now, our next card, we're going to be jumping down to number 5. And this card is a repeat customer. This is Kitesail Larcenist. It was on the list last week. A very desirable card for obvious reasons. It's only $1.45 US. You can see it has flying and ward 1. Yes, it's 1 blue and 2 generic for a 2/3 flyer, but it's that secondary power. Look at all that text. Look at all that amazing text you have to read. When the Kitesail Larcenist enters the battlefield, for each player, choose up to one other target artifact or creature that player controls. For as long as Kitesail Larcenist remains on the battlefield, the chosen permanents become treasure artifacts with sacrifice to add mana, and they lose all other abilities. This card can mess you up, and the fact that it's actually geared for Commander, sure, it works fine in Standard, but guys, the fact it's geared to be used in Commander, I can just see it just messing up multiple opponents, speaks volumes for where Wizards' headspace is still at and why cards like this are being bought still in great quantity. I think we're going to see a changing of the guard here in the next couple of years, and I think cards like this aren't as likely to come around in a Standard set with that kind of wording. But we'll see how it plays out in the long run. Either way, the Larcenist is getting a lot of sales. So let's go ahead now and take a look at our number 4 card this week from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. It is Bitter Triumph. This card is 1 black, 1 generic. It's an instant, and it says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card or pay 3 life. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. See those multi-ability cards? They can really work for a lot of decks nowadays. Doing multitasking means you don't just have to rely on one style of card. 2,087 sales, total sales volume of $1,648. Not a real big amount of money to get a card like this, and I don't see it really rising in price. It's going to kind of level out and play the role it has to play. But it's still interesting to see that this card is getting a serious amount of play because it has multiple ways of paying for it and utilizing the card. I love it. Very inexpensive. Great card. Going to see a lot of play for the next little while. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the number 3 card. And this is Deep Root Pilgrimage. Kind of surprised to see it here again. Another one I wasn't sure was going to show up, but here we have it. So 2,231 sales. That's $5,956 in total money spent. And of course, with the average price being $267. And you look at the card, it's 1 blue, 1 generic enchantment. And it says, whenever one or more non-token merfolk you control become tapped, create a 1/1 blue merfolk creature with hexproof. I like the idea that they added in the hexproof. I also like the fact that this thing costs next to nothing. Okay, this card is seeing a whole bunch of sales right now. I can't wait to see which style of decks like to utilize it, but it's going to see some play. I mean, are they going to try this in Modern? Is it quick enough for Modern? You guys let me know. You've waited long enough. It's time to jump in to the number 2 card this week, and that is Tehana's Tidebinder from the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. This card is still retailing for around $19.03 is the average price. 2,358 sales means this thing has over $44,872 in total sales volume, making it a very expensive card that a lot of players bit into this week and last week when it took the number 2 slot as well. But that means that we have a number 1 card to still check out. This card has flash, it's fast, it's furious, it's a merfolk wizard, but it didn't take the number 1 position. So now let's take a look and see what's been going on with this card, because this one's taken the number 1 spot before and it's still holding that position right now. That's right, guys. We are talking about the Roaming Throne. $19.26 to buy this card. It's a Golem artifact creature that's 4/4, and it's a 4 generic to cost. And it's got Ward 2. As Roaming Throne enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. And of course, Roaming Throne is the chosen type in addition to other types. Sliver! Thrall! You guys get where I'm going. If a triggered ability of another creature you control of the chosen type triggers, it triggers an additional time. That's where all the disgustingly powerful things can happen. The fact it triggers an additional time and the thing can imitate other creature types means this thing is a sought after card that is going to continue to be sought after for quite a while longer. All right, guys, let's do a follow-up wrap-up here. Let's talk about what we've seen in the market and why the sales volumes are just so low. Now, how interesting are those numbers knowing that last week was Black Friday? I mean, let's face it, guys. It's just me and you at the end of the video. Nobody made this far. Nobody else is here. It's just us talking. When you see those sales volumes, and now we're nearing the end of the year, wall of fatigue is setting in, just the end of the year tiredness we all start to feel as the holiday schedule starts to ramp up and people just don't get as much time to play at a local store with their friends, those sales are going to peter out. They're going to slow down even more. That doesn't mean the cards aren't desirable. It doesn't mean the players don't want them. But even cards that sit on a store shelf for a few weeks in a hot market will still be sold later on. But at the end of a year, you'll notice deals and sales as stores try to clear out and get a little bit more revenue. No, that doesn't mean these cards are going on sale, if that's what you're hoping for. But other cards might, so it's something to pay attention to for any flash sales of your local LGS or things they might be doing for the Christmas holiday season. I just found it very fascinating when you compare it to a Black Friday and you kind of compare this to a year ago sales and you start looking at all the videos, you start noticing there's like a pattern to some parts of the year, but Black Friday was never this good. Like this year was kind of crazy for singles, and let's face it, players aren't opening boxes. I still think we're going to have some craziness there in the next little while. Either way, thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel. Thanks for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And of course, if you're shopping on TCG Player, don't forget to use my affiliate link found in the description of this video, because if you use that link, this channel gets a 3.5% kickback on anything you spend there. So thanks again. Appreciate everyone who takes the time to support the channel that way, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another amazing video. If you're here at the end of the video and you see all these names flying by, these are the patrons of the channel, the supporters, the ones who back this channel and allow for daily uploaded content. Thanks again to each and every one of you. Welcome back to the Ramble Jamble. You've made it to the end of the video where the nachos and cheese flow from the gods. And I eat them all, each and every day whenever I get a chance. It's just the way I like to roll. So guys, I don't have a coffee in my hand. We're having some water right now. But I myself, like we all kind of feel it, right? It's that time of year you're like, ooh, I really can't be spending money there. Minimox, my kid, my dog, my family pet, my family friend, the person, that person over there, they need gifts, they need things. It's time to hold your horses, spend wisely. But if you guys are out there and you're watching this end piece, if you made it this far, you know what to say. You know.